Thank you very much. My name is Amer Al Sabaileh. I'm a Jordanian university professor and geopolitical analyst, trying to follow things for years now. What's happening in the Middle East, what's happening in Jordan and the Mediterranean area. So basically, today I'm glad to talk to you about Jordan and what's the country is living since the spark of the war in Gaza back in 7th of October, 2023. And actually, this crisis, for the geographic position of Jordan, unfortunately, every crisis in the Middle East had an impact on Jordan. And if we get back to 2003 and the war in Iraq, and after that, Jordan started to live in continuous challenges on all levels, on level of security, level of demography, level of economic hardships, and most of all, living with continuous problems and inactive borders, where trade with Iraq and Jordan were very high. Jordan had a strong economic position inside Iraq during the period of even the embargo of Iraq. Then the Iraqi crisis took us to the Syrian crisis that we've been witnessing now for more than 12 years. And still, it is one of the major challenges for Jordan. Why? Because it's not just a crisis inside the Syrian borders. It started to be a crisis that is exporting problems to the Jordanian territory. And in recent years, Jordan is facing huge challenges when it comes to organized crime, drug and weapons trafficking. And this was, in recent years, one of the phenomena that the security apparatus had to deal with day and night. Now, when it comes to the war in Gaza, it definitely had an impact on Jordan on all levels as well. Because before 7th of October, Jordan started to be one of the most important tourist hubs in the region, and there were high expectations. Number of tourists increased significantly, and expectations for having more growth in this field. All in a sudden, with the war in Gaza, stopped mostly completely. And there was as well an impact, a direct impact, even on the popular sentiment in Jordan. So basically, maybe it's not a place where there is war, but there's the atmosphere of war, where people are really anxious, worried, frustrated, and it affected even psychologically, I think, the atmosphere in the country. So living with this continuous crisis, I think, started even to change the dynamics in the political scene in Jordan. And this was reflected very clearly in recent elections. In recent elections, Muslim Brotherhood, who took the streets since the 7th of October, supporting Hamas, promoting the ideology of Hamas, fueling and mobilizing people, made a significant victory in the elections, and they won on the national list more than 31 seats, 18 seats, and in total 31 seats in one of the most or the biggest political presentation for Muslim Brotherhood in history of elections in Jordan, where they are expected as well to be to play a very strong role in opposition. This adds more to Jordan today on political level, adds more factors of instability, in my opinion, because in a moment where the country should focus on itself, its fragile economy, its local problems from unemployment, lack of development, the need of infrastructure, all these things, what's happening in the region is shifting the attention, whether to security or to be involved in the dynamics of the regional conflict, which means we might witness soon that we have serious problems internally in dealing with local problems due to this continuous situation of hardships and lack of possibilities, let's say, to build a systematic growing plan for the coming years. So we ended up living in a day-by-day crisis, trying to contain the impacts and the implication of the crisis rather than to think and plan systematically for the coming future. So I think these are the challenges today for Jordan. And the open crisis all over, being surrounded by continuous problems from Syria to Iraq, even to West Bank. This means that Jordan might be also subject to another implications coming from these kinds of instability in its neighboring or border neighbors. And this means, unfortunately, that a country like Jordan might suffer more in the coming years. So basically, this is, in conclusion, the situation today in Jordan. It's definitely one of the countries that at least today it still have strong institutions. It has nation-state model, which is something that today in our region is an exception. And I think this might be one of the most positive elements for a country like Jordan, where containing a crisis might also lead or open a window for a future, for a better future for planning for solutions and maybe implanting the model of Jordan as a nation state with strong institutions to other countries that has been suffering in recent years from the collapse of the nation state and the emergence and of the concept of non-state actors. So this is also one of the things that a country that managed to survive all these years, all these kinds of crises, might be also a model to be implemented or to be copied in countries that need also to tackle this issue seriously if we want to get out of this dark tunnel of continuous crisis. So in brief, I think, yes, we are suffering, we are living the impacts, but I think we can also have a good chance to find or to build some kind of solution for this continuous crisis, even in neighboring countries. Well, let me put it this way. I think the Muslim Brotherhood, yes, it's popular among its people, but I think this was due to a political decision. The Muslim Brotherhood ideology was imposed on the Jordanian society in the 50s and 60s, and they were giving big space to do politics, to involve or to go inside the Jordanian society. So I don't know, and we had martial laws in Jordan, and politics were banned in 1957 because we were part of this region that was affected by the Cold War at that time. And at that time, we had an elected socialist government. And then the local decision, internal decision to ban political parties and apply martial laws, impose the martial laws, but with one exception to Muslim Brotherhood, who started a systematic process in changing the cultural identity of a society like Jordan. So basically, there are roots for their presence. In a moment where everything was banned politically, they had the chance to work socially and politically. They used to have their own schools, banks, hospitals, etc. And which means, yes, the state helped them in building their internal state within the state. And this, after 1989, late King Hussein called off the martial laws after the uprising of 1989 and called for election back to democratic life. And of course, you will end up with the Muslim Brotherhood, who managed to work all these years to build their own cultural identity inside the society. Yes, they might be popular, they might be able to mobilize people, and they work too much on the Palestinian issue to promote themselves as the representative of the Palestinian issue. And with 7th of October, they went back to the scene because 7th of October represented a golden chance of propaganda and free campaigns for them. Because what is Hamas? Hamas is a Muslim Brotherhood movement linked to Muslim Brotherhood. And when it comes to Hamas specifically, they are too much linked to the Jordanian Muslim Brotherhood. And this means that it has a different way to deal with Jordan. And I don't know if anybody follows what leaders of Hamas have been saying all over this year. The special focus was always on Jordan, asking people to take the streets, fueling their feelings, mobilizing them. There is a specific concentration and focus on Jordan because of these ties and these links that Hamas has socially, politically, and on a level of organization with the Muslim Brotherhood. So I think, yes, the Muslim Brotherhood had strong profit of that. They managed to have the street back, which means like they don't want to be just a bloc, a group of opposition inside the parliament. They want to be the leaders who can mobilize the street, which is another tool of pressure on the state itself. And let me just explain what does it mean that they have 31 or 32 seats in the parliament. It doesn't mean that they govern Jordan. At the end, the constitution gives the power to the king. He nominates the government and he can dissolve the parliament now while we are talking, and he can call off democracy and activating something like called National Security Council in case of emergency. And I think we are heading to state of emergency in this region if this crisis continues. So basically, there is no real risk politically that they will be the majority inside the parliament. But I think we have to deal with them as not just an opposition group, but also with a constitutional cover. And this, for me, is something new because Jordan in recent years didn't have really any opposition inside the parliament. So maybe this might make the mission of any coming government a bit difficult, not easy. You have to convince, you have to talk, you have to ask for confidence and trust vote. It's not an easy mission, but I don't think that their success in the elections can be interpreted as a path to power in Jordan. But they will definitely focus on keeping the street alive, active, because this is for them the best tool of pressure on the state. And they are more representing more now the cases of Hamas rather than Jordanian domestic issues. So this is also a concept that this is a group in their agenda the regional issue and Hamas is much more important than the local domestic issues. So this is the style of the new political scene when it comes to the elections. But I don't think that there is any risk because the Constitution maintains and gives power to the king to have the full authority on appointing government or dissolving the parliament. Well, look, even if they want to promote themselves as independent, what they say is not independent. What they say shows that there is a linkage and there's a fully coordination with the international organization of Muslim Brotherhood. So they are not representing a Jordanian agenda. They are not focusing on Jordanian domestic issues. They are bringing always issues that every Muslim Brotherhood organization is tackling. So we cannot see them far from what's going on in any other place. Maybe they have to do it tactically because allies for Jordan like Egypt and UAE already banned and listed them on terrorist lists. And we had cases here. They used to attack UAE and Egypt, and one of the most prominent leaders of Muslim Brotherhood in Jordan was arrested and put in jail for attacking the UAE, and we have in law that this can be defined as trying to manipulate relations with other countries. So it's a national security issue. But they will never be a Jordanian party. They will always serve an agenda, a regional agenda, or an international agenda. For them, Turkey today, or in recent years, Turkey was promoted always, or the Turkish policies was their slogans. When Muslim Brotherhood came to power to Egypt, they felt that it's a boost for them here in Jordan, and they started to show that this linkage with the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt should be interpreted in cashing it politically in reaching power in Jordan. So in all cases, what I want to say, it's impossible to see a Muslim Brotherhood group as a local group. State-to-state level, I think it is, Jordan considers Egypt one of the most trusted allies. And let's not forget that King Abdullah was the first leader who went to Egypt when Sisi came to power. And he insisted in recognizing him, working with him, and he started a strategic relation with Egypt. And I think it is one of the most interconnected on all levels when it comes to state-to-state relations. So this was the triangle, Jordan, UAE, and Egypt, working together in the last 15 years now, or 14 years. After the Arab Spring, or during the Arab Spring, I think this relation started to improve and started to take a strategic dimension, which means like Jordan and Egypt can be seen from one perspective. Look, it's a bit complicated because definitely if you have a deteriorated relation, it means that both parties participated in making this relation reaching this level. I think we have to be courageous enough to rethink things, because when it comes to a Jordanian-Israeli relation, we are not talking about peace by choice, like the models with the Gulf countries. We are talking about peace by force, not by choice. because due to the geographic positions, the demographic situation, the security issues. So basically, when 1994 Wadi Araba Agreement was signed, it was not seen just as a luxury. It was a must for Jordan after changing the balance of power in the region and the war on Saddam, etc. So we have to agree that you have two models in this relation. You have realpolitik that tells you that the peace treaty is a must, the security coordination is a must. You are benefiting from water, electricity, security, etc. And you have the populist model of politics, which means trying to criticize, doing campaigns against, but on the ground you do nothing. So even if these relations looked deteriorated, I don't think that there were steps were taken to interpret or transform this bad relations on diplomatic level to bad relations on realistic steps, which means nobody can call off the peace treaty. Nobody is stopping the cooperation on security level. Nobody is stopping or thinking to stop the gas deal with Israel or the water deal. This means that unfortunately, the problem now is between populism and realism. And this means I don't think that this is good, because at the end, there's a contradiction you are creating as well. Even those populists in power who think that criticizing Israel is helping, but at the end, the people in the street are telling you, okay, transform what you are saying in actions. Call off the peace treaty, and you cannot. Stop the security coordination, and you cannot. And at the end, you are gaining nothing. And this is the case today. We have a populist mentality that invaded realistic areas, because for me, diplomacy is realpolitik. It's not populism. You can be a journalist and be a populist, but you cannot be a foreign minister and be a populist, because you are tied by agreements. You can send a message by a statement, by a move, by a step. But what is the power of Jordan today? It's one of the most trusted allies for the West, the US. You cannot just launch campaigns of criticism, but you have to bring solutions. So you have to be a solution provider, not a part of the problem, but part of the solution. Actually, no, the one who initiate the solutions. You have a geographic position today in the middle of all these conflicts. You have a geographic position in the middle of what is coming for the region when it comes to economy and this economic geography that everybody is keen to know about today, the new project of connecting India to Europe. And this means that you need concrete solutions. You need to be part of the solution. You need to provide solution, and you need to think of how to improve the situation of your country economically and on security level. So I think, yes, if any observer looks now to the relation between Jordan and Israel, he would tell you it's bad. And it is bad, I think. But on the ground, you need to decide. If you want to keep the peace treaty and security coordination, then you have to deal according to this. But if you want to call it off and look for another options, and you don't want relation with Israel, you have to be prepared to deal with it differently. But in a country like Jordan, with this geography, that your borders with Syria are inactive, with Iraq are inactive, West Bank inactive, and the three are not just inactive, but they bring you problems, and you have to be on alert day and night because of the risks coming of these borders. What you have is the borders with Saudi Arabia, and you have to look for a model that can benefit as well from the huge projects in Saudi Arabia. And this means you need a mentality that reconcile with everybody, turn Jordan to be a kitchen or a hub for solutions, and have good relations with everybody where you can influence, where you can put your thoughts, you can transform your ideas, you can convince everybody that this is an important country, regardless whether it is in Israel, a right-wing or left-wing government. The geography says that Jordan is important. So your politics should focus on in making Jordan important in the eyes of everybody. And this is for me diplomacy. This is for me what a country like Jordan should do. It is the power of politics, not taking positions and not bringing solutions. Well, look, I'll give you my conclusion. I don't think that there will be any good relation between Jordan and Iran as long as Iran thinks in Jordan the way they are thinking of it as a geography that is part of the triangle of threat that they wanted to use against Israel. So it's impossible for them to see Jordan but a transition, a hub for their activities, because what Jordan for them is the gate to the West Bank. And what they wanted to do is to complete the triangle between Gaza, south of Lebanon, and West Bank. That's why Jordan is always under threat from this Iranian policy and under attempt of infiltration of drugs, weapons, even building cells, etc. So this is for fact. I don't think that the Iranians have seen Jordan differently. Now, what people in Jordan think of Iran, Iran is not it's not seen positively by the majority of Jordanians for so many reasons. You know, Jordan, since the Iraqi-Iranian war, Iraq was perceived very positively in the Jordanian psychology, social vision, and actually, King Hussein took clear position at that time. We are with Iraq. But the idea today that some people, they think that you can contain Iran by sending good messages, which means let's talk to the Iranians, convince them that not to use the Jordanian sky, airspace, the Jordanian soil for their activities. They think that this is one of the attempts that they have to do. I don't think that this might change anything. Iranians will always see Jordan as a gate for their activities. And give you an example. Why each time Iranians threat to attack Israel, they should use the Jordanian airspace? While logically, you have Lebanon, where your Hezbollah is there, you are there, you are in Syria, and it might be more effective for you if you want to attack Israel from Golan Heights or from south of Lebanon, rather than using the Jordanian airspace and then accusing Jordan for shooting down the rockets or the missiles. I think Jordan will be always paying the price of being an ally, a trusted ally to the West when it comes to the Iranian mentality. So a chaos in Jordan in a certain moment is one of the targets of Iran to trouble the US, the Western allies of Jordan in a country that is stable, and a chaos on the sea, a chaos in a neighboring country to Israel for them as well might shift the priorities, less pressure on Iran itself. So this is, for me, for fact, cannot change. Diplomatic initiatives with Iran are not functioning because simply who's on the ground is the IRG, is not the people you are talking to in Iran. Now, this is in recent weeks, we started to witness the change of what's happening with Hezbollah and the containing power of Hamas and Jihad in Gaza and West Bank, then this means that Iran today is becoming less effective in the region when they lose their tools of power. You know, Hezbollah is the strongest party, the strongest front for Iran, and the model of Iran was to be able to bring a crisis inside Israel. The model of 7th of October, opening different fronts at the same time. And this is the only way that you create problems for the Israelis. And this is what they wanted. But the Israelis managed now to cut the fronts. And now they managed to contain risks coming from Gaza, West Bank. And they are in their way to contain this in Lebanon, which means that Iran's vision or Iran's strategy at this is collapsing. I think this would put less pressure on Jordan, but still we are living the critical moment where Iran or this IRG might use all its cards, from militias to opening another front to dormant cells. So we are witnessing these weeks of, in my opinion, of high risk today. That's why what I wanted to say, yes, you can try diplomatically with Iran, but you have to contain the risk of the Iran on the ground for a country like Jordan. That's why, no matter what, I don't think that a relation with Iran might be successful, but it might lead to create at least a strong change inside the mind of a line in Iran that, okay, we don't want to be involved in aggressive politics in the region. Let's change the politics. And this means giving good messages to everybody. I don't want to be in Syria. I don't want to be Lebanon. Don't want to be or to try infiltrate Jordan day and night. So this might lead you at least for a status quo with Iran. But as it is today, I don't think that Jordan and Iran can enjoy good relations.